Hello, my darling. Get ready with me to do the school run while I tell you ghost stories about working in a 16th century Tudor fortress. We will run to the comments. No, I don't have a child. It's my brother who is 10 and I take him and pick him up from school. So I'll give you a bit of background about the Tudor fortress, why that cut off. But the background of the Tudor fortress is Henry VIII designed this castle along with many others in 1540, I think. My castle has seen quite a lot of death. One of the captains died there. So let me tell you about some ghost stories. I have one in the shop and one to tell you about the captain's apartments. Start with the shop because I'm going to attach the toys that have been moving on their own. So in our gift shop, we have these. These work kind of like a string mechanic. You squeeze the bottom and the mouth opens and closes. I'm at work in the shop and I am stood facing the toys and it's dead quiet, pun not intended. There's no one around and all of a sudden, and there's no one that's been in at this point, we just opened, all of a sudden this dragon pincher starts, and I was looking at it and it did it about 4 times and I thought, what's going on here? There's no physical way for that to move as it did without being squeezed. And obviously there's no one in the shop. So I cannot explain that situation. My manager said it must be me that causes some sort of reaction in the castle. We've also had another toy go off by itself, and I'll explain that in a second. I didn't find an image for this toy, but it's a wooden bow and arrow. Now this bow and arrow has a suction cup on the arrow, and it has to be launched to kind of land. This time I didn't see this arrow move, but I did hear what sounded like a suction cup, like a bit like a toilet plunger. So I was quite startled by the sound because I wasn't facing the shop at the time, so I turned around to see what was going on. First instinct was to look at the toy section of our shop. Nothing looked out of place. I tidy it up quite often, but there was nothing there. So I looked over at the book section because it's like the other part of the room, and there was an arrow just on the bookshelf. Out of place, very strange. So let me know if you want part 2, which is about the captain's apartments where the captain lived and his staff, because that story really spooked me.